Here to face off, Democratic strategist Patrick Murphy and Republican strategist Alex Conant. Patrick, you get the first word. The Republicans, why shouldn't this be seen as just sort of a minor moment that won't last?
Well, it's a consistent pattern. I mean, I don't know where the outrage is from Michael Steele and the other Republican leaders. You know, when Barack Obama tries to talk to school children about doing their homework, he gets criticized from the right and from the conservatives. And when people like Joe Wilson stand up and call the president a liar in the middle of a congressional joint session, it's just incredible. There's no sense of decency left with these guys, and they're just hitting the lowest possible rung on the ladder to try and upset health care and try and undo this presidency.
Alex, I know in your heart of hearts you're a smart guy that the image last night was not the one you would have preferred for the Republican Party. Will you just come out now and say, look, I wish some of the Republicans had behaved better?
Well, look, you know, I think we're kidding ourselves if when you saw Republicans sitting on their hands last night, that's not what that's exactly what most Americans were doing when they were watching it at home last night. The Republicans are on the same page as the American people on the health care debate. They oppose what President Obama and the Democrats are trying to do with the government takeover of health care, just like most Americans do.
What about the Joe Wilson episode?
Well, Joe Wilson apologized, and I think that was the appropriate thing to do. The White House accepted that, and I think we should move on. I think the fact that we're still debating Joe Wilson's comment rather than debating what was supposed to be a game-changing speech by the president yesterday shows just how far short the president's speech was.
Well, here's the bigger issue. Let's put up on that screen again the Joe Wilson sort of picture of him reaching out. You look at the image of the Republican Party, all white males with short haircuts. They look sort of angry. No women, no minorities, and it looks like they've sort of become unhinged. How does that image help the Republican Party? Except
that the president. I mean, let's remember that last night the president referred to Sarah Palin, who obviously is a Republican leader and a woman, and you know, so I don't think it's fair to say that all Republicans are white males like you and me, David.
I don't know if you want to invoke Sarah Palin to try to help your cause. Cameron, you take it away.
Well, I mean, David, you said all white males with short hair. I have short hair, so I guess I could have said it there. But the reality, Patrick, set aside, I'm sorry, Alex, I was chuckling at some of the other things that we were talking about. But, Patrick, set aside where you stand in this conversation, the image. I mean, you have the president saying it's enough of the bitterness. Let's, you know, have a civil conversation. And you do have this image there. The flip side, though, you have progressives and some far left who say, well, you know, Mr. President, don't you see what we see? There are people who are not willing or not ready to have a legitimate conversation, so move on without them.
Well, and I think it's the dilemma of I don't think the American people are sitting home on their hands. I think the American people are sitting home very concerned about what kind of shape their health care is if they have it and what it would be like to get it. And I think that's what the president was trying to get to last night. You know, in this jeering and booing by the Republicans, it was literally out of order.
Yeah, but then at the same time, you're seeing, though, the president say that, you know, there's hope for a legitimate conversation with both sides involved, but what you saw, and everybody's got eyes, you're looking there, it doesn't look like what he is saying is making any leadway there. Did he see any movement there?
Well, I don't think he saw any movement in that chamber, but you know, I think some of the moderate Democrats and I think a handful of Republicans are going to help get this bill passed.
Alex, we'll give you the last word. One more shot to say, you know what, I wish the Republicans had behaved better.
You know, let me just say that this speech last night was very similar to the speech we heard 2 months ago at the press conference, when that was also supposed to change public opinion. It was supposed to jumpstart the debate and get people excited about Obama's plan, and that fell short. And yesterday's speech was very similar. I expect it will also. Nothing he said yesterday will fundamentally change the dynamics of this thing. If he wanted to change the strategy, he would have really reached out to Republicans and embraced the bipartisan ideas instead of going along with congressional leaders. He's using
John McCain's ideas. He's using Republican ideas.
He's talking about malpractice reform. That's a Republican idea. That was new.
We could absolutely pass a bipartisan bill. There's a lot that we agree on. Some of the things that President Obama mentioned last night. But if he continues to push ahead with things like the government takeover, the public option, that's going to be a partisan proposal that even conservative Democrats are going to oppose. That's why it hasn't passed the House of Representatives yet.
Alex, you may be right that this was not a long-term game changer, but the fact of the matter is in the polling last night, the president jumped 15 points. In one poll among independents, he was up 20 to 25 points in a whole host of areas. So at least there was a short-term boost for the Democrats. In any case, Alex Conant, Patrick Murphy, we got to leave it there. Sorry I get the last word. Those are the rules, except when Tamron gets the last word.
We follow the rules. We follow the rules.
Tamron, what do you think?